might know something about this as well. He's been waiting for the back a little bit. Let me go ahead and get him on the panel. Joshua Harris, how's it going?
Okay.
Hello, everyone. The thing that you have to understand is that Bob Iger hates Walt Disney. He actually does. He intentionally and consciously hates Walt Disney. He hates everything that has ever come before him, mostly because of his vastly inept nature. He is a one-trick pony. He can only acquire successful brands, and usually at an enormous premium, which hurts the company. And by purchasing, I mean with Walt Disney's wallet, and then he runs them into the ground, and then he goes on to the next one. I mean, he was already starting to do that when he bought Star Wars, because he was already draining out all of the creative and social capital for things like Pixar and everything, which I can debate against that as well, which most people find that a gas, but anything that is that way. Yeah, he really just in his entire career. You can look at what's happened to Walt Disney World, especially. It's happened at lesser extent to other parks and resorts that. He's slowly removed everything that has anything to do with Michael Eisner, and he really doesn't care for Walt Disney. Walt Disney was his first kill, and then he just went progressively down the line with that. I mean, and really, it doesn't. This isn't a conspiracy theory. If you want to know how Bob Iger thinks, and how Bob Iger feels about this company and about its legacy, all you need to do is listen to what he actually says in his own biography. I mean, this is the guy that proudly mentions very early on in the entire book that he proudly never has worn a Disney tie. Now, why would the chief executive of a company say proudly that he has never donned one of their IPs on there? It's not just one example. The whole entire thing that he did to George Lucas actually it just breaks your heart when you see what he's actually done to it, because he actually stole the company from George Lucas. George did not want to go through with the purchase. He was very he was very hesitant about it. He got railroaded into it until there was a point of no return. And Bob Iger says proudly in his book about how he was able to finagle and finesse the thing to where he couldn't get out, because if he would have canceled the deal, he would have had to pay $500 million to get out of it because of the corporate arrangements. George Lucas could not afford that at that time. So when you see that horrible photo of them signing the documents and everything, I know that it might come as a shock to people today, but George Lucas actually does have smiling muscles. He just hasn't used them for 7 or 8 years. So when you see him doing that, and you see that dead, vacant look on his face, and that look of severe depression that he's signing it over to the quote light white slavers, that's real. That's exactly what's happening with him. So. Yeah, that look at that face. That is the face
Joshua.
that's stressed.
Joshua didn't also. I have not seen him smile in years. Ever since any image I have seen of George Lucas, he just seems like he's there, but he's not there. Like a part of his soul's like missing, and it's something I picked on over the years, but I could never connect the dots. I never knew he was backed into a corner like that. I never knew that it was like that. Now it makes sense.
And Joshua, tell me if I'm wrong about this, but my understanding is that George Lucas wanted to make sure Kathleen Kennedy in there because she was supposed to be advocating for him. And am I right in thinking she stabbed him in the back?
Yeah, she stabbed him in the back, but it's one of those really tricky blame games, because I like the whole entire blame game that I constantly tell people I don't like to do is that, which Bob was worse? Was it Bob Chapek or Bob Iger? I'm like, they're both bad. They're both underneath the same guy, though. So that's the thing, though. You have to realize that Iger is where the buck stops. So it could have been. There are some people that I know that have worked directly with Kathleen Kennedy, and they are still her defenders, and they still pin almost every one of her decisions onto Iger. So it's a little bit of a cloud of war type of thing. But yeah, this is the woman that was one of the executive producers on E.T. She had gotten coffee for George Lucas and Steven Spielberg for decades. Very, very trustworthy lieutenant in their little army. So why would she want to portray him in this way? Well, we can go into a whole discussion where we talk about social dynamics and gender politics right now, but everyone pretty much is already very well aware of that, as there's thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of commentary on that on YouTube right now already. But still, yeah, that's the reason why he wanted her in there, because he thought that she would be able to support him. And then you can look at the whole entire timeline that happens after the purchase. So I didn't think I was going to talk this much about Star Wars, but anyway, George Lucas came up with a treatment on how to deal with 7, 8, and 9 that most people think that is really off the wall, because he was going to be doing something regarding, and this is more of a Lauren Connor thing, so he would probably scream at me if I'm not going to get the details right, but whatever. It was about the wills, the WHILLS. Where they were supposed to, where it was going to be going into a microcosmic realm of Star Wars lore relating to the actual mechanics of the Force. And I'm of the opinion that it should have stopped at Episode 6. I mean, that was George Lucas's whole entire thing. And I should also say this too, that I am not necessarily a Star Wars fan. I'm not necessarily an Indiana Jones fan. I am a George Lucas fan. I'm a hardcore George Lucas fan. And when I used to tell that to people when I went to like social functions and everything, they would say, "I am so sorry for you, man." Yeah, so am I. So he had these wonderful treatments for it, and then she just decided to go ahead and abandon them, because they wanted to do this whole entire thing where they wanted to shift the market from a boy brand into a girl brand, which, by the way, Star Wars was never a boy brand. It was never a girl brand. It's just a brand that people have universal appeal for. This was designed by George anyway, with his adaptations of Joseph Campbell's The Hero of a Thousand Faces and everything. He wanted a universality that transcended gender. So when Kathleen Kennedy split that, then you split the whole entire thing in two, and then of course they had no plan and everything. So that's just one thing, though. That's just one thing. If I could tell you also, like most people think, okay, well I don't agree with the Marvel acquisition. I definitely don't agree with the Fox one. I have problems with Star Wars. This is other people telling me this. I'm like, but you have to admit that the Pixar was the great one. Pixar was actually one of the worst acquisitions for Disney. For one thing.
That was a highlight from our live stream on That Park Place Podcasts online, where the full stream can be found at the link in the description. But what about you? What do you think about this very intriguing and fascinating story? Please let us know in the comments below. Like this video if you did like this video. Share us out, as it helps us out tremendously against the YouTube algorithm. And thank you so much for watching. T3, BO. Please comment, like, and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe to That Park Place Podcasts online, your source for exclusive content and highlights from WDW Pro, The Pro Show, and That Park Place, for all the news that should be fun.